afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We don't stop very often to think about the thin covering of the Earth's surface, but it's a word we all know well. It's called soil. Soil is a lot more than the dirt under our feet. It is the base of life, the foundation for food, fuel, feed, and fiber. A worldwide effort is now underway to bring awareness to the importance of soil. The United Nations has proclaimed 2015 as the International Year of Soils. Here in Vermont, the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, is leading educational efforts about soil. So today we're going to get the dirt on dirt from two NRCS experts. Al Averill has worked for NRCS for nearly 35 years. He is the state soil scientist for Vermont and Massachusetts. And Amy Overstreet is an NRCS Public Affairs Officer. She spent 20 years with NRCS in South Carolina and just this year transferred to Vermont. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Al, what does an NRCS soil scientist do?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to put this in context, and that would be, what does the NRCS do? And the NRCS's mission is to help people keep soil on the ground as opposed to having it blow away by wind erosion or wash away by water erosion. And this idea of the importance of soil really came to light and really hit home during the 30s, during the Dust Bowl era that many people may be familiar with. It was a devastating environmental crisis that was really the fault of the way the land was managed at that time. And so the Soil Conservation Service was born as a result of that. And it made sense that if you're dealing with a natural resource, you need to have a good understanding of what that natural resource is. In this case, the soil. Soils are highly variable. They've got different layers. Each layer has different characteristics. It has different proportions of sand, silt, and clay. It has different chemical properties, different densities, on and on and on. There's just an infinite variety out there. And if we are going to understand how it behaves and what we can do with it, what we can't do with it, what its potentials are, what its limitations are, then we need to understand it. And so the National Cooperative Soil Survey Program was born from that idea and from that premise. So what the NRCS does, along with our cooperators, our university cooperators, of which the University of Vermont is one, we work to inventory the nation's soil resources. We find out about what's out there, and we are able to, because of the great relationship between landscapes and soil types, we're able to delineate the soils out spatially and produce soil maps as a public service, not only for NRCS conservation planning, but also for the public in general to help promote wise land use decisions and wise land use management. So a soil scientist, a field soil scientist, and I was one for many, many years, is a person who walks around in the woods and walks around in the fields and digs a bunch of holes and tries to figure out what's out there and draws squiggly lines on aerial photographs, which become soil maps. And at the same time, we gather data about the soils. We try to figure out what's out there, what is the composition of soil on those landscapes that we delineate out. And we put all that information together and we provide it to the public. In addition to that, we have the NRCS has a massive soil laboratory in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we have a monstrous amount of information about the characteristics of the soils based on all the sampling that we've done over the course of the soil survey program.
Well, Amy, tell our viewers why soil is in the spotlight this year at the International Year of Soils.
Yeah, it's such an exciting year for people like Al and those that have devoted their careers to soil, because finally it's getting the attention that it deserves with the International Year of Soils. So the United Nations declared 2015 as the International Year of Soils thanks to the King of Thailand. He's been a lifelong conservationist. As a matter of fact, his birthday, which is on December the 5th, was declared World Soil Day. So as you can see, he's very passionate about it. And so the UN declared this year as, the focus, the spotlight. We were rolling out the red carpet. And I've had the opportunity to actually go to the kickoff in New York City at the United Nations, which was so exciting. What a once in a lifetime opportunity. That was really a lot of fun. And I've also been detailed to the National Soil Science Division. And so what we wanted to do was tell the world about why soil resources are important. So we've developed a video series that covers different topics about soil. And so we can show you the introductory video right now.
Let's take a look at the International Year of Soils video overview.
Have you ever had the experience of looking at something in a totally different way? It's like when you look at this, and then suddenly it becomes this. Well, that's how it was with me and soils. And I will never look at soils in the same way again. Soils are hidden from our eye, but if you listen and you watch and you really pay attention, no matter where you are, soils will speak to you. They'll even reveal their past. Watch closely, and they will show you what they are really made out of. Soils are like skin, living, breathing. Look at what is hidden right there in plain sight. Colors, shapes, all the living things beneath our feet. William Bryant Logan said that soil is the ecstatic skin of the earth. Living, life-giving, complex, misunderstood, so mysterious. The connector, the protector, the producer. This is soil.
Now, there was also something called the Web Soil Survey. What's that all about?
The Web Soil Survey is essentially the packaging for all the work that NRCS does in soils, and all the information that has been gathered in the mapping is now available to the public on the Web Soil Survey. If you Google Web Soil Survey, I guarantee it'll be the first thing that pops up. And it's comprised of 3 parts. It's basically, you've got the soil maps, so you can go into your area of interest and see what the soil maps are there. It also has all the data about the soils, and in addition, it has interpretive information, so a person can take a look at this information and it will provide some insight as to what the soil is capable of and what it's not capable of, and how it will behave under different land uses.
And so, Amy, what was your experience this year taught you about soils?
It was really amazing. I never realized how many things that we take for granted in our lives depend on soil and soil health and soil science. One of the most amazing things that I learned about was the fact that there were some medicines that were developed, some antibiotics that were discovered in soil, which is absolutely amazing. And that's one of the videos that we made.
All right, well, let's take a look at that then. Okay.
When I was a child, my mother insisted I wash my hands, particularly after I'd been playing outside in the dirt, because it was, well, dirty and surely full of germs. I can still hear her voice telling me to wash up. Face it, we are a society of germaphobes who have been brought up to believe that all bugs are bad bugs. But the fact is, most bugs, or shall we say microbes, that include bacteria and fungi, are actually good. And what's more, microbes produce compounds which they use to defend themselves against their fellow microbes. These are naturally produced antibiotics. In fact, the first antibiotics were extracted from soil microbes. These became the wonder drugs of the mid-20th century, all but eliminating diseases like tuberculosis. But here's the twist. In the 20th century, scientists could only screen microbes that could be cultured in a lab, and that's only about 1% of all soil microbes. This limitation has meant that the emergence of antibiotic-resistant superbugs, like MRSA, and new strains of tuberculosis was inevitable. we were left with this vast, untapped resource of uncooperative microbes that refuse to grow in a petri dish. But recently, Northeastern University's Kem Lewis, in collaboration with Slava Epstein and a biotech company, Novobiotic, used an ingenious device called the iChip to trick isolates of uncooperative microbes into growing as if they were still in the soil. They've been able to discover 50,000 new isolates and 25 new antibiotics. One microbe, Eleftheria terrae, produces an antibiotic called Teixobactin, which shows great promise in overcoming antibiotic resistance. Now, I'm not ready to toss the hand sanitizer or stop washing my hands. But knowing that our living soil stores the possibility of life-saving antibiotics, how cool is that?
That is very cool.
Yeah,
now, Amy, as a matter of fact, soil just won a big prize.
Yeah, well, soil actually won a Nobel Prize because of the chemical that was found in the soil that helped find a cure for tuberculosis. So it's really amazing.
And Al, what would you like to say to sum things up?
Well, I guess as a result of this, I hope people have a greater appreciation for this very important natural resource. The soil provides us with so many important functions. It's the water filter of the earth. Water that goes in comes out cleaner usually. It mitigates against flooding and the excess stormwater precipitation. And of course, as my 18-year-old daughter said when I told her I was going to be here, she said, why do you have to tell people about soil? It's what we walk on. It's where we get our food from. And I wish I'd said this. I don't know who said this quote, but someone said that despite all of humankind's technological advances, we owe our very existence to that thin layer of topsoil and the fact that it rains.
Amazing. And Amy, what are some of the other video topics that are coming up the rest of the year that folks can see?
Yeah, very fascinating. We talk about how soils support many of the products that we use. We talk about the soils and climate, which is a very important topic. And we also talk about the use of soils in art throughout generations, which is really interesting.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you'd like people to sort of take away from today's program? We've talked a lot about some science behind soils and so forth. What do you think is the most important thing for people to keep in mind?
I think that we've taken soils for granted. And I think if people just stop and look at everything that they do every day, which is what the Soils and Products We Use video talks about, really have a greater appreciation for soil. It's underfoot. We don't think about it a lot. We build on top of it, but it's such an important resource. And I hope that the videos will help educate people and just let them look at soil in a little bit different way.
Well, you just don't know what's in it. I mean, there are amazing things that can happen.
Right, right. It's really amazing.
That's wonderful. And so once again, if people want to see these videos, where can they turn to?
They can go to the USDA Nrcs YouTube channel, and then we have a playlist there that has all the different videos. And I think by the time we're done, we'll have 11 videos up there. And they're very short in length, really good for schools, and they really apply to a large, wide audience.
So we've got about a minute left. What's going to be coming up for you this year? What will you continue to work on?
One of the focuses that we have right now is to improve the soil survey information that is out there already. Most of the country, the initial soil survey mapping has been completed on about 99% of the private land. All of New England has soil survey information, but the more we know, the more we can improve on what we've done. So that's kind of what we're focusing on right now.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today. It's absolutely fascinating. I don't think I could look at my garden the same way.
Yeah.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.